Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unlock what is, honestly, a modern day superpower: the ability to control your emotional reactions and completely transform your life. We've all been there, right? That split second moment of anger, a sudden outburst, a quick reaction that we literally instantly regret. And the thing is, uncontrolled emotions can permanently damage our relationships, hold back our professional growth, and even take a serious toll on our physical health. But what if you could flip the script? What if, instead of letting situations control you, you controlled the situations? Today, we're going to break down the exact science behind our impulses and learn a proven, actionable framework to master the art of not reacting.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with Section 1, Reaction बनाम Response. Then Section 2, दिमाग में क्या चलता है? Next is Section 3, हम react क्यों करते हैं? Followed by Section 4, Peace Method का इस्तेमाल. And we'll wrap up with Section 5, आपका 7 days challenge.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Reaction Banam Response, the difference between reaction and response.
To really understand this difference, imagine being a massive celebrity like Shah Rukh Khan. A reporter once asked him a highly inappropriate, really intrusive question about when his 2-year-old son would make his debut. Now, a normal reaction, that would be anger, getting super defensive, maybe even storming off. But Shah Rukh Khan didn't get angry. He simply paused, asked the reporter if she had a 2-year-old son, and then quipped, okay, so when is he going to become a journalist? He offered a witty, completely composed response. Not reacting didn't make him look weak. Actually, it made him look incredibly powerful and totally in control. Let's bring this closer to home. Consider a super common, everyday annoyance like a traffic jam. On one hand, you have reacting. You're sitting in your car, honking the horn, hitting the steering wheel, just cursing at the cars in front of you. You are completely ruining your own mood over something that's entirely out of your control. But on the other hand, we have responding. You accept the jam. You use that extra time to plan your day, maybe put on some relaxing music, or just take a deep breath. Reacting is taking an impulsive action without thinking. Responding is assessing the situation and actively choosing your behavior.
So why is reacting so natural to us? Well, to understand that, we kind of have to look at our past. We have to remember that impulsive reactions were absolutely great for our ancient ancestors, who were trying to escape wild animals. Back then, if a tiger jumped out of the bushes, you needed an instant fight or flight reaction just to survive. But today, this ancient survival mechanism gets incorrectly triggered by everyday, completely psychological stress. Your brain literally interprets a rude email or a bad traffic jam as a life-or-death threat to your survival.
Moving on to Section 2, दिमाग में क्या चलता है? The biological battle inside your head. Let's look under the hood.
Think of your brain as a cricket team. On this team, you've got your Captain Cool. That's your prefrontal cortex. Captain Cool is logical, assesses situations, and thinks about long-term consequences. But on this exact same team, you also have this impulsive player, your amygdala. And this player is highly emotional, fast-acting, completely ignores logic, and is driven entirely by fear and anger. They basically just want to swing the bat at every single ball, no matter the risk.
The absolutely crucial point here is that when an emotional fire alarm goes off in your life, like say someone insults you or you feel a sudden surge of fear, that impulsive player takes over before the captain can even process what's happening. We're talking milliseconds here. The impulsive player literally blocks out Captain Cool, resulting in what scientists call an amygdala hijack. At that point, you're no longer acting on logic at all. Your emotions have completely hijacked the control room.
Which brings us to Section 3, हम react क्यों करते हैं? Identifying our hidden triggers.
Let's look at a funny but very real example of this hijack. Imagine a friend, let's call her Simi, working quietly at her desk. Suddenly, she screams, jumps up, and literally runs across the room. Why? A tiny cockroach. Now, logically, a bug that size cannot harm a human being. But in that exact moment, logic is hijacked. The fear emotion presses a massive panic button, the flight response activates, and the actual scale of the threat becomes completely distorted in her brain.
But beyond sudden immediate fear, we are secretly triggered by a whole list of underlying factors every single day. We react poorly when our expectations aren't met, or when we're paralyzed by the anxiety of, say, giving a presentation. Often, past baggage is the real culprit, like a previous toxic relationship making us hyper-react to a completely harmless text from a new partner. Then you have cognitive biases. These are the stories our brain just invents, like automatically assuming a rich person is greedy, or someone from a different background is wrong simply because they disagree with us. Oh, and let's definitely not forget the physical triggers. Just being hangry, hungry and angry, or being sleep-deprived can completely wipe out our emotional control.
All right, Section 4, Peace Method का इस्तेमाल, your framework for self-control.
Let's learn how to put Captain Cool back in charge.
We're going to use the PEACE framework. The P stands for pause. Honestly, the very first step to self-control is to simply pause. Remember how that impulsive brain acts in milliseconds before the logical brain can even catch up? Well, a tiny gap of just a few seconds paired with a deep breath physically holds back that emotional surge. It hits pause on the fire alarm just long enough to give Captain Cool the time needed to step up and actually assess the situation. There's another fantastic example of this in action. A reporter was repeatedly calling Shah Rukh Khan by another actor's name, kept calling him Salman during an interview. Now, instead of succumbing to an amygdala hijack, SRK used a really powerful pause. He just waited and then calmly corrected her by jokingly pretending her name was Deepika. It completely diffused the tension. That one little pause saved his mood, the reporter's dignity, and the entire interview. Next up, the first E stands for evaluate triggers. You absolutely must know what specifically sets you off. Think of cricket legend MS Dhoni. When he was asked how he stays so calm under such immense pressure, he explained that he simply doesn't think about the result, because it's the result that brings the pressure and the fear of losing. Instead, he evaluates that trigger and consciously focuses only on the process. You need to do exactly the same thing. Evaluate what triggers you. Is it a specific word, a certain tone of voice, or just the fear of a bad outcome? Moving on to A. Avoid raising tone. Look, shouting is basically always a failed strategy. When you get angry and raise your voice, you instantly become a perceived threat to the person you are talking to. You literally activate their amygdala hijack. Their brain senses a threat, goes right into fight or flight, and suddenly, boom, they are shouting back at you. At that point, you aren't solving a problem anymore. You're just two primitive brains fighting for survival. So keep your voice down to keep the logic intact. For the C in PEACE, choose your words carefully. Notice the massive difference between these two approaches. Use statements like, "You never listen to me," or "You are always on your phone," are direct attacks. They assign blame and instantly cause defensiveness. But if you shift instead to I statements, say something like, "I feel ignored when we don't spend time together." See how that changes the entire dynamic? You're sharing your feelings rather than attacking them. And that creates empathy and understanding rather than sparking a hostile argument. Finally, the last E is explore perspective. And this is a real game changer for lifelong emotional intelligence. Consider the story of a manager who was super frustrated with an underperforming team member. Right before taking harsh disciplinary action, the manager learned that the employee was actually going through a brutal divorce. That one unseen struggle completely shifted the manager's perspective from anger right over to empathy. The next time a waiter is rude or a driver cuts you off, explore the perspective that they might be fighting a silent battle you know absolutely nothing about.
And finally, Section 5, Aapka 7 Days Challenge, from reacting to responding.
It is time to take all this amazing biological science and turn it into daily action. But don't worry, I'm not asking you to completely overhaul your life overnight. Your homework for the next 7 days is super simple but really profound. Step 1, just practice the pause. Even if it's just in your own mind when you start overthinking, catch yourself and pause. Step 2, observe what exactly triggers you during the day. And step 3, spend just 5 minutes every evening writing down your reflections. Jot down where you reacted, what the trigger was, and how you could have used an I statement instead. You are literally studying the most important book in the world, yourself. As you jump into the 7-day challenge and really start reshaping how your brain handles the world around you, I want to leave you with one absolutely vital question. The next time you feel that overwhelming, burning urge to react angrily, just ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Will this traffic jam, this rude little comment, or this minor mistake really matter 5 years from now? If the answer is no, then why let it steal